late we get here, or when Garrett or Brent get here, we'll have a forum and be able to start.
We could do the Friends Foundation Library report.
Okay, so we're skipping over anything that needs a vote for the moment. So we'll go right into the Friends report if we can.
Okay, I've
Mike?
got a few notes here that
Yeah.
Ruth sent along since she wasn't able to
Sure.
join us today. Friends had a successful book sale back last month. I think they raised about 10,000 total. So, and the annual meeting with I know some of you attended with Ed Slippick and Special Collections had a good crowd. I think there were about 45 people in attendance that evening. Says many thanks to Foundation trustees who attended and came to the book sale as well. Friends membership continues to increase with each sale. And she says they'll be organizing a special bag sale for the first weekend of January and have a special discount for teachers. Their executive board meeting is this evening at 5:30. Well,
Thank you.
thank you.
Any questions for Clay? If someone on there made the Friends presentation with Ed Slipper and stuff. For those who didn't, it was really fascinating. Just did a great job with the library history. I thought it wasn't a kickoff to the 100th. I guess that was later in the week with the following week with the foundation board, but it was a real nice start into the whole process there. Okay, since we now have Garrett here, we have a quorum, and I'm going to go ahead and officially call us to order and run through a couple to vote on. First off, anything that needs to be added to the agenda at this time? Nobody has anything? Then I'm going to ask that we get a motion to approve the December 7th agenda
I
as
do have one thing to add here, or he's just going to do that.
he's doing.
Yeah, under his report. Sorry,
Yeah, whereas yeah,
it's not in this.
it's not good.
Okay.
Because it's, yeah, we're actually going to start adding advocacy as a task force and committee reports.
Okay.
So we're just.
Thanks.
So can we get a motion to accept the agenda as it is?
I'm going to do the same thing.
Sharon, and a second? And all in favor, aye? Opposed? Okay. And then I'd like to ask that we get a motion to approve the consent agenda, consisting of the October 26th regular meeting minutes and the current pending conflict report and report as submitted.
I move that we do.
Thank you, Chris. Garrett, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Nope. Okay, very good. Then we're just gonna jump back into where we were. Clay, thank you for the Friends report, and Susan, we get a foundation report.
Thank you, Bill. Since our last meeting in October, both the Foundation Impact Report and the annual fund letter have been sent out to library supporters. If you have not already done so, the Foundation appreciates your consideration in making an end-of-year donation to support Richmond Public Library. Additionally, the Foundation is designing a fundraising event with Maya Smart in April of 2023 to benefit RPL's early childhood literacy programs and initiatives. After discussion with the Foundation Executive Committee and the full board, we look forward to sharing additional information with the trustees as we move forward. We would like to thank the REB Foundation for their recent $10,000 grant in support of RVA Reads. This grant represents an increase of $2,500 over our 2021 award and will be used to purchase books for the program's expansions. And that's my report. If there are any questions.
Now, I will say one thing: if you are not sure you did a donation yet, you can always check with Susan. I know I have it on my list to check with her today.
Thank you. I would be happy to share that with you.
Because sometimes you forget which year you've done that at the end of the year, beginning of the year, etc.
Forgive me, one more
Yeah.
thing to mention is that next Wednesday, the 14th, is our annual December board meeting. And the foundation, the trustees, the friends and library staff are invited from 5 to 6 for a very informal, low-key open house. Hope you can join us.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, we'll jump right into, Scott, your administrative report.
Not a lot to add to what's in the packet. I will say thank you for everyone who was able to attend the read up and the RPL 100 kickoff. You all have one of the items we're using to promote it. So Ripple is making his appearance, and he's put on a nice new 100-year anniversary sweater with our logo on it, and you'll see the new pin. So if you did get a pin at that event, you have a pin to wear around and let people ask you about, wow, the library is 100 years old. That's fantastic. Let me tell you more. So it was great. The reception was very nice. The author talk was wonderful. We sold a lot of books that night for the author. The author signed a lot of books. We had a fantastic meeting last week. We're kicking off that oral history project. You'll see that there are little flyers that are asking people to share their story about Richmond Public Library. Those will be videos, so opportunities for people to tell us how much the library has meant to them, how the libraries help them, what they've learned from the library. We want staff to participate in it. We want emeritus members of the trustees and friends and foundations to come and tell us about why they love the library. And those will be put up on a page that's on our website that will have links to those. And we're building a record of this event. So finding all of our old history, it will be on the website, searchable, and become kind of a snapshot. So there'll be videos, transcriptions. Then in April, we'll celebrate National Library Week. Susan mentioned Maya Smart, which really ties together very well with the library strategic plan, early childhood literacy. The foundation is supporting that, bringing Maya Smart, who's a Richmond celebrity in terms of being able to support it, to talk about early literacy. So she's written a book. She's going to talk about that and how she's put that into practice in her family. And I think it'll be her family and community. That's a really amazing opportunity. And then, throughout April, we'll have birthday parties for all the branches as they have their year of 100. And we're continuing to build upon RPL 100. So we have a year. We're going to do some more things. So stay tuned. But that is the quick 6-month overview of it. Any questions on my report or those?
We'll just jump right along. Yeah, we just get public comment.
Yeah.
We have anybody here for public comment? Nope. Okay, then we're keep on moving from that. We got out of order while we're waiting for a quorum, so I apologize for that. Okay, going to move along to the board committee reports from their perspective. I don't have a lot. I'd like to first off thank all of you, but particularly Sharon, for filling in. You asked me when I was that well. He said, I said, yeah, today. I guess I was sick, actually, now that I think about it. I got a stomach bug, not to overshare or anything, but he did not want me coming to either of those events. So I was really sorry to miss them, but Sharon did a great job of representing us with council and all of y'all who came to that. And I also heard great things about the read up, and I was really sorry to miss it. I'm sure that he was a fantastic speaker. And this was a great event. We are going to add further into here, and we can do it under the chair report, but I'm just going to ask it to go after facilities. Is Garrett to talk about advocacy. So we're going to just move right on to Scott. Do you want to talk finance, or Garrett, who's doing the finance report?
I can give you an update on, we discussed last month the process for budget and how it's moving along. I had a whiteboarding session with budget and strategic planning earlier this month. We talked about goals and objectives, and I stressed 3 things to them. That number one, we need to restore our staffing levels to 2019 levels. Right now we have 69.5 FTEs. We should have 89.5 FTEs. And it's wonderful that they were able to lift wages, but they did not restore the personnel that we had. They gave us $100,000 to start Sundays at Broad Rock, which will begin January 8th. We finally have all the positions hired over the first 6 months, so those will begin in January. But it doesn't restore the hours that we had then or the programs that we had back then. And I made clear to them that, you know, our door counts are still down. Our computer usage is still down from 2019. We're not achieving those levels, and it's because we don't have activities going in our libraries, and we're not open the way we were in our libraries. So we've made some half measures to move that forward in this year's budget, and we're grateful, but we have to get back to that level that we were in 2019. We need to advocate for it. And if you need a number for it, it's 1.3 million. That's what we're going to need to put into our budget to get to where we need to be. Our book budget is looking good, so that's the number we need to focus on. And then they asked us, what are our other initiatives? And I said, well, my board has given me a wonderful challenge, and it's addressing a quiet crisis in our community. AIM, more, amplify, initiate, and more. That's what we're doing with our early literacy program and everything. And that is something that's wonderful to put out there, and they can comprehend it. And we need to focus very much on our first to 5 and everything we're doing for children, because PAL scores are not where they need to be in the city of Richmond. So we can work within that. So I explained that case to them.
What was their reaction? Were they not, they didn't care?
They care. I just don't know that they all competing demands. It's all political.
Right.
So I feel it's important to get these requests in writing to them as we go through the process.
Okay.
Because as you go out, and Garrett's going to give you this wonderful schedule for how to advocate over the next year, these are the points we need to do.
Yeah.
So restore our funding for personnel.
Yeah.
So it's AIM. We need more access. We need early literacy.
Right.
And we need more.
Yeah.
So it's a library that our community deserves. So that's what we need to have.
Following up on Chris's question on that a little bit, did you get any of the, well, isn't that the schools? Isn't, I mean,
No.
that type of response? No.
No,
So no one questioned that. It's just they didn't jump on top of it and say, we want to get behind it.
No, it's very clear that birth to 5 is a space that we can be a champion in. You know, the RPS does a wonderful job with Head Start and all of their preschools. But that only helps those children. That's 967 children. We have 13,000 children in the city of Richmond from birth to 5. We have an opportunity there to help Richmond Public Schools with that. And we're working with them. They're clear on that. But we can do more. And so that's, as Chris so elegantly said, AIM. That's what we're going to do. And I stressed to them, they said, so what is the first position you want to hire? I said, early literacy coordinator. We need a person dedicated, an expert dedicated to manage that, to help us grow that. So that's a position I'm advocating for. And if we can restore in this year's funding, I'm going to do it as soon as possible. So those were the things that I hit with them. Those are the things that I'm reiterating. It's going to go into a memo to them, and it's going to be clear to them. We'll see how it processes. Right now, they're working through the 2022 audit, and they certified their funds that were remaining from last year. I think you saw all of that in the paper. So the budget process is ongoing right now, and it's going to be after Christmas. It'll be a sprint to March 6th when the mayor introduces the budget. So those are the things that hit with them pretty good, and so we'll see how it progresses. But what you all are doing with the advocacy, that reminds them, because we're on many fronts here. We're listening to our users, we're responding as a library, and you're advocating with mayor, your community, your friends and neighbors in the community, as well as council members. And we had great impact last year, and this year we need more, because we still don't have the people we need to run our libraries, the capacity that they need to be run. So Whole Street's open 2 nights a week. They should be open 4 nights a week. We need to get all of our branches open more, and it's going to take people. And it's not just opening the facility, opening our buildings, it's doing things in those buildings to get people to come out after 6 o'clock. We've only started to open up after 6 o'clock in July. So we're digging out. They hear that. Now they need to fund us.
Just to answer that really quickly, I think it's, when you talk about funding, we need to be the right people, pay to see people, you know?
Right.
Because I think, you know, that goes into conversations about kind of like pay and how that's even been a challenge to get our people in place over the last year. That's something that's going to keep in mind as we're having that conversation. Because I know in my industry, in any industry for that matter, we're all having that conversation of like, how do you get the right people in place to be able to do the work that is before us?
Garrett, the pay, the amount of pay that work with, as Thomas Scott said, I don't know whether he started this before you came in or not, but we clearly are not authorized for the FTE level. It's not, I mean, they've given us some money that's helped us with better compensation and maybe some maintenance, retention of employees. But in the money they gave us, we can't really shift.
No, we can't shift personnel money to operate.
When we can't even shift personnel money that we put in so that we could open longer hours. Because we're sitting here with the balance that we said, give us money in order to give us better access and expanded hours and Saturday hour, Sunday hours at Broad Rock. And if we say, well, we're going to take the money that we're going to use for that and instead put that to the early childhood person, still personnel, but because I don't believe we can do that. I mean, legally we can do it. I just don't think that practically we can take away from any of the functions we've already committed to doing.
Right. Once they've authorized the number of FTEs, you're not allowed to deviate on those FTEs.
Right. I'm saying we can't take an FTE that was going to be working at Broad Rock on Sundays and put that person.
Yeah, because we would shortchange.
Because we're shortchanging Broad Rock, and we just can't afford to do that right now either. So we're just in that spot where the number of FTEs has to be increased. So that's from the advocacy perspective, we really need that to be a focus. Yeah, we really do. And when you look at the paper today, you look at the 21 million that they're trying to figure out how they're going to spend. We're not looking for that much of it to get to some open hours, and they're starting new programs. Maybe they need to help us get the old program back to where they were before the pandemic.
Political navigation.
Yeah. Anything in the general budget issues? I didn't go through all the numbers.
We're on track this year. If you look at the budget for as of October, we're at 24.9%. We should be right about there at that time. So we're tracking very well with our month-to-month expenditures. So that's going well.
Okay. Before we get facility, this may actually be the right spot to talk advocacy, I think.
Yeah.
And then we're jumping into facility.
Yeah.
Dollar.
I agree. I think it's a great segue.
Okay.
Okay, good morning, everyone. As you see in front of you, it's, for putting these up, we put together a 2023 advocacy plan. And really to kind of kick things off, the theme for 2023 is 52 weeks of advocacy for Richmond Public Libraries. That should be our true theme, how we should be striving as we move into next year. Before we start, I do want to just give a quick call out to Chris. Chris did an amazing job over the last year, really building a strong advocacy plan for our board. I think without her, we wouldn't have been able to do all the great work that we were able to do. So thank you, Chris, on that. I'd have to say that, but thank you everybody else in this room as well, because you took the great information that Chris put together for us and you acted on it. You went out and you built relationships with your city council representative, and some of you had 2 representatives that you were tag teaming on alongside each other to ensure that they knew what was happening in the libraries, all the great things that we were able to do with limited resources, but we were still able to make a great impact on the community at large. So thanks to everyone on that. As we get to next year, though, there's a lot of work to be done, as Scott and Bill just referenced. We have a lot of great opportunities to not only continue to tell the stories of what we're doing as a library, but what we need to do and the resources that we must have in order to restore back our services to our community at large. So what I put before you this morning is just some general information of how we can do that from a communication strategy, because I think communication is critically important in order to build that narrative. So as we talked about before, when we get to the point of making that ask, it's not like, like where did you come from? Oh, you live in the 4th district? That's great. But we really want to make sure that they know us by name. They know the stories of the individual libraries, and that's like the library system as a whole. So the ask is not difficult. So as you can see here, I put together this pretty much a month by month kind of plan of how we can build kind of our story throughout the course of the year. So again, we can build on these on what we're doing and what our ask is to be. So to start off with 2022, obviously the month of December that we're currently in, I think, one, if you've not sent the communication that Chris drafted for us at our previous meeting, please make sure you do that before the end of this week. And then make sure you send it over to Deanna so that she can forward it over to Karen and myself from an advocacy perspective. We've received a few of them, so if you've already sent that, thank you so much. But if you have not, please do that by Friday. Again, it was an excellent email put together. And I know, for example, Barbara has already got a response from Kaya with Ann Lambert's office. So the conversations are already happening. So thank you for that. But beyond that, I think before we close out this year, I think it's another good opportunity to say happy holidays, but also just thank them again for all that they have done in the last budgetary year. But throw a little bit of a nugget in there about what's to come. What we need to do to get back to our true operations, and also tie that into the staffing needs as well. As we move into January, I think it's really good. Everybody's ready to kind of get back in the swing of work, but that's when the communications really need to go full steam ahead. That's when you need to really hit them. As soon as they're ready to be like, oh, ready to start the budgetary season, here we are with the communication from the board. So I think this is an opportunity to, again, go back to your city council representatives that are assigned to you and begin to talk to them about what our goals are going into the next year. What do we want to accomplish? We talked a lot about advocacy. We talked a lot about, focusing on childhood literacy. Let's talk about that. Let's give them the stats. Let's talk about where we are and where we need to get to over the next year. And we'll work on a communication that we'll be able to circulate to you guys so you can be able to send that out. Because again, we want to be consistent in our overall messaging. I don't want Janet to say one thing and then I'm saying something completely different. And we're like, what? What's going on? But we just want to be consistent in our overall messaging. So again, our communication will be drafted for everyone to be able to utilize for the month of January. Again, there's going to be a heavy emphasis again on childhood literacy, as we talked about before, and also increasing access to our libraries through the addition of our hours and programming. As we segue into the month of February, I think it would be a great idea. I just saw this literally a month ago with Cheryl Burke in the 7th District. Saw her, she went to her nearby library in the East End. She got her library card, she posted on social media. And it was a really kind of cool thing to see. I was happy to see that she was engaged. I called her immediately, was like, thank you for doing that post. And then that started into another conversation between the two of us about how maybe she can be a better advocate for the public libraries going into next year as well. So this is an example of something that I think we can do to kind of build that out for the month of February. So I would just ask that we all invite our elected officials to meet at their library in your district. Make sure they have a tour of the facility if they have not seen it already. I hope they have at this point, but if they haven't, this is a great opportunity to get them up to date. And if they have not their library cards, encourage them to go get their library card as well. We can take photos with them and post them on our social medias. And I think it's another great way to kind of get our story and the great work and our ties to our elected officials out there. It's kind of a win-win, I feel, from both angles. Also, I think it's a great opportunity to begin additional conversations related to our ESL population. That has been something that I feel has been in many ways overlooked. Sharon and I were having a conversation earlier this week about that because we were talking about particularly Georgewood High School, River City Middle, and also Huguenot High School, even Blue Shell to some extent as well. Those schools have seen a significant uptick in their Hispanic populations. And we're already seeing from many data points, if you're looking at it from a school perspective, of how they're being left behind. You look at it from tied to graduation rates, you look at it tied to SOL scores. I mean, there's a lot of data that's there that's showing that there's an opportunity to address that concern earlier on in age, so we don't have this problem as they do to middle and high school ages. As we move into the month of March, I came up with this idea last night, providing a Ask Me Why I Love My Job button that our public library workers could wear. And obviously we could wear them as well as board members. But I think I just wanted to get into this idea of like generating conversation as to why the library is so important to all of us. Why is it important to patrons? Maybe that could be a question that could be posed to someone who's getting ready to come to the counter and check out with their books for the day. And again, tied to that is also going down to public comment, and I'm definitely familiar. I'm sure many of you are familiar with public comment here, whether it's city council or school board, but also utilizing that opportunity to really talk about why the public library is so important. And I think if we could go in mass down there in the month of March, where we know that's going to be when Mayor LaVar Study will begin to present his budget, and that's when the conversations are really going to begin to kind of kick off. How powerful would that be? What type of message would that send? They say like, oh wow, they really do business. They really know their stats. They really know what the needs are, and I think that will really kickstart the conversation that they're going to have from a budgetary perspective at that time. Moving on to the month of April, as Scott mentioned a little bit earlier, it is National Library Week. It will take place from April the 23rd to 29th. So I thought it would be a great idea to help with communication for City Council and library allies. This demonstrates how library changes their lives. And then I think, again, as kind of Scott already talked about, from another campaign, we can really kind of pull on the feedback from constituents within our districts and share their testimonies that can be incorporated into that week as well. Moving on to the month of May, I am a big writer. It's the English major in me, can't help it. But I thought we really could drive for an opinion piece. And I have really good connections with Style Weekly, but also with the RTD now.
Great.
And I think we can easily get something published and if not one of both other publications to talk about the library and the amazing strides that we've made. Again, that's another kind of way in which we can kind of get ourselves out there to the general public. And also, at the point that Bill made in a previous meeting, really begin to kind of pull on our community as a whole. I think, we've done an excellent job. We have some of our closer friends that have obviously been advocates, but I want to expand this as much as we possibly can and really build that true coalition. Because I feel like with that coalition, you can't deny it. You can't ignore the work that's being done and the work that needs to be done with the additional funding that we're requesting. As we segue into the month of June, I've thrown this idea out to my friend Anthony, who's at Channel 12, see if he comes through on this or not. But I feel like we could do a really good feel-good story that can be ran on Channel 12 or Channel 6 or Channel 8. I don't really know anybody Channel 6, so I'll leave that alone, but Channel 8 and 12 is a possibility. But I think, again, that's another opportunity to continue to kind of get our names out there and all the work that we're doing in public libraries. I feel like in July we need to so maybe like 52, maybe like 52 months more. But again, we'll kind of reconvene in the month of August. I think as we come back into August, I think there's an opportunity. Obviously, the budget will have gone into effect. We can send out our thank you notes to our elected officials for the contributions that were made for the next fiscal year. As we move into the month of September, I thought another idea we can do is a fall day of service at our public libraries. And we can kind of build that in a way that gets out to every elected official, whether it's city council, school board, definitely the mayor and his administration, and really have them get invested, come down, read to the kids,
Roll up their sleeves.
Yes, absolutely. Check out some things. I think, they could do that for a couple of hours and that would be fantastic. And I kind of rolled that in actually into the month of May as well. The opportunity for them to do that, to have like a spring and a fall version of day of service would be great. And then as we go on to the months of October through the month of November, I just continue our communications about strategy for 2024, because it never ends. There's always going to be a new challenge, something else that we need to address as a library as a whole. So let's continue that momentum and push that as we go into the end of next year as well.
This is excellent. This is excellent.
That's what we need. And I think you've done a beautiful job of keeping all of us on track and also factoring in the non-board member community input. It really is critical because they get tired of hearing just us. And, we have a specific viewpoint. They say, well, they're board members of the library. Of course, they're going to act. When it comes from other people, as you're fitting in here, that really does help that also. I think it's really well put together. And thank you and Sharon both for all of it, and for continuing to lead it. Other questions about this for Garrett? So we're going to try to keep moving.
Before you got here, we were talking, and there may be a possibility of getting a little Christmas card. worked up with that new logo on it. And
Maybe we can
send
put
that-
Ripple on it, holiday.
Yeah, nothing fancy, just saying thank you for your support, have a happy holiday.
I love that.
Yeah.
Very good.
Not as good as that, but you presume that the council all have library cards, but their children may not yet have a library card. And when you talk about a good photo op, a good photo op is when a councilwoman brings her two little kids in to get the first library card.
John just said we can get cards done in time for us to get them maybe by swinging down by Maine at some point, and picking up cards to mail now.
Yeah, Jen will send out maybe 2 weeks.
2 weeks will get us there. That's today, the 8th. 2 weeks is close, but if we can get them by the 21st or
Might
2nd,
even sooner.
maybe shoot for the 21st, so that we've got 3 or 4 days to get them out.
And plain, thank you. Thank you.
So, and Johnny, you'll send something out when there is something available to be picked up down at your office or the
Yeah.
desk or whatever. So,
And we could also send them to your nearby branch.
that's better, whatever works easier for people. Yeah, we don't want to lose 2 days waiting for them to get to the bank.
Because there are other people who support the library also who, other than, elected officials.
Oh, yeah.
Some of the branches may have support from community members, they like to send cards.
Excellent point. That's an excellent point.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and just keep moving on. Having the clock an hour early, an hour early, really focusing on keeping it rolling here. I will put this, hey, it can't be 1:15. Every time I look up. But we do still want to keep moving. Our next topic is one that may also take a couple of minutes, and that's facilities. So Janet, you and Scott,
So we're gonna pass out a paper copy of the completed main library renovation master plan. As delivered by Steinberg Hart. I would have sent it by email, but I can't send files that big. And I don't want to send a compressed file because it's a pain to send a compressed file. It's a headache to work with. So.
Thank you.
John and I really like how this turned out, because it's nice and big and has lots of pictures. Huge, well, files huge. See it that way, John? You probably, it's much bigger in person, isn't it, when you see it in front of you? So this is 5 years in the making. It was a mandate back in 2009 when the original facilities, system-wide facilities master plan went into effect. And the architect at that time said, hey, main library is too much, but you need to revisit it because you've got challenges with this space. And we're recommending you do a master plan for the main library because you can't do it at this time. This, the needs of the branches, the renovations of the branches and all those things was too big. So we recommend you do that. So that's what this is. And it is aspirational. It is swinging for the fences. It is assessing this need for the community, and painting a vision of the future that could be. It also conforms with the city's need in their CIP process, the construction improvement process. For them to go on, they need to have a ballpark idea of what our needs are. This document assesses the building, listens to the community feedback, benchmarks, collects data about the space, what's wrong, what's well, what could be used, what are architectural challenges, what can be done. And then it looks at around the country, what are being done in libraries. And it offers a comprehensive solution for the main library. For the past 50 years, we've done repairs and fixes. In 2005, we did a repair. We did a renovation of the first floor and the special collections area. In 2013, we did a technology upgrade. Those have been kind of band-aids on this building. And this plan is a comprehensive overall, moves the library to a place where we're answering the needs of the community and meeting policy initiatives of the city. One of the things is a green initiative. By 2050, we want to have net zero buildings in the city of Richmond. That's what this plan assesses and looks at, and it gives us all of those things that the city has asked for. It also gives us a cost estimate based on the things that we've heard from users. So there's a $70 million cost estimate and design images of what could be. And it also charts everything that the committee did for a year and a half. So you can look at the surveys, the benchmarks, the data gathered, the reports given, the committee meetings. There's all of the committee meeting minutes. And people ask, well, why did you do this with the building? Why was the concept doing these things? If you look at the committee minutes, you'll see the discussion that we had around those things. So it's a comprehensive look at all of the work that we did. It meets the mandate of city process and our strategic goals of the library board from 2009. So it's satisfactory, and it is the next step.
Okay,
So
Janet?
what's their assignment, Scott? These people here.
So the next steps are, you all read it, look through it, come back next month with questions, concerns, and approve it or don't approve it. I would recommend we approve it.
Yeah.
Because it's the next step. We don't have the resources to do this again. And so we have what we need to move it forward in the CIP. In the CIP process, they will assess it and determine if they want to approve it. If it's approved in the CIP process, then it will go into the CIP process, which is a 2-year process. Now, whether it gets funding or not is the next question. And they could fund it at different levels. So they could fund the next design and schematic design, which would give a final design for what the main library could be and make those big decisions. You know, we would look at things like the big issue that came up during this whole process with parking. So a parking study would be we would do a parking study and assess, what do we really need? We would assess in more detail, access issues, structural issues, buildings issues. We just have a kind of an overview of it with this document because there weren't the resources to go deeper levels to create a schematic design or overall design for what could be set, what could be used in the building, what can't be used in the building. That's in the next phase, and that will cost a significant amount of money. And so that will be the next process. Sometimes it's called value engineering, it's design development, it's all of those things. So that would be the next step. Once that step's complete, we have really a hard document that says, this is what you can do. And we have better estimates for how we can proceed. If, let's say, miraculously, they go, we want to fund the whole thing. We're going to do $70 million. It would go into the process and we would start in July 1, design all the way to bid. I'm not saying that can't happen. That's not traditionally how I've seen it happen, but you know, the city spent $200 million on schools in the last 5 years. I'm not saying it can't happen. So this is what we needed to have. So it's the next step. It does all of the things we needed to do. It raises issues. Some people don't agree with it. They don't like the vision it's laid in. That's awesome. We need to hear what everyone has to say. We've gotten positive feedback, negative feedback, indifferent feedback. We need to use it. We need this document to have those conversations so we can move it forward or not move it forward. If city council or the mayor says, we don't want to do this, then we can say, well, what can we do? Because this is identified problems that we need to address. So if you can't do this, how do we address the concerns for children and in our spaces at the main library? Because our spaces at the main library right now are not adequate. The space is not welcoming and inviting to families. How do we do that? So what is really the next step? So in the next 6 months, we're going to find out whether they want to fund it or not. So we'll continue to have that
That's
conversation.
short, 6 months.
The CIP process is going on right now. So we're going to find out whether they accept this process or they have the capacity to do it, or they'll accept it and say, yes, we want to do it. We just don't have funding right now. And then we'll figure out what the next steps are. So that would be another piece of advocacy as we go forward. The CIP and the budget move on parallel tracks. So
I would like to say page 11 is important. Existing building conditions. And we, the committee, we went over and over different wording. But I was pleased with page 11. I think it's a good mix of, here are issues with the building, and here are some good things. Because we didn't want to be seen as trashy. So. I
We
just-
spent the first year trying to figure out how to really use the 28th building. And it
And we
came,
were very sincere about that.
right, and after all of our discussions, we said, gosh, it's maybe better to just take the whole thing down. And, salvage pieces of it and be able to put something there that's on the same elevation as the other building and correct all of these problems that were broken from 72 when it was completed. And we were shocked by that. We were hurt because we didn't want to do that. And it's been one of the controversial things, but that's where we landed. Now, in the next phase, that may not happen. There might be an historical assessment that says, oh my goodness, this has to be salvaged. And it's gonna cost this much money to do it. And if the city wants to salvage the building and do all of the engineering stuff to do it, that's a decision that's another decision we'll move through. So this raises that issue. So people are up, I think it's great that we talked about tearing that building down because it puts it out there. So I also like, let's see, where is the guiding principles that we came up with? So on page 24, the guiding principles. We had a lot of debate about this, but simply, create a space that is bright, open, flexible, means all. Our space right now. For some people, they love it. Other people, it is something of last century built around the book, not people. Visionary, we want to have a library that balances reading, space, innovation, all of those things. Accessible, we want access and equity on the forefront of design development. That means if I have a mobility disability, how are my needs being met? If I have 3 children in a stroller, how do I get in the building? And then how do I move around the building? So considering people from those levels. Sustainable, that's been a mandate and it's a top mandate. We're hiring sustainable, we have a environmental plan, all of those things. So a net zero green building is a mandate by 2050. This is our opportunity to do something like that. And then humanistic. So let's look at ways that we can use new programming, mixed use programming, apply to those 5 ways people learn. And then they do a nice job of existing issues with the building and improvements of the building. They try to simply lay it out so everybody can see it. I know it's a big document. It has lots of pictures. It's not, the font's not real big. You can read it very quickly. And to me, it presents a great overview of the issues we wrestled with, the data that we gathered, the feedback that we gathered, the survey that we did. We have all of these wonderful word clouds that talk about, in bold ways, what are important to people. It's a very simple way to show what's important. And those were things that we kept at the forefront as we stepped through this. So I think the committees were happy to deliver this. It's been a product of a lot of work, a lot of toil. Goodness.
Happy and relieved.
Yes, and then you'll see all these pictures of benchmark libraries. So you can see what other libraries around the country are doing. In other programs, other library building programs, we've actually gone and visited. We have time to do that. We went to those buildings to talk to those libraries. We weren't able to do that in this process. That is something I would like to see in the next process. So let's go to some cities and see where they're doing things. So there's images of Slover. So Moines, if you look at that library on page 72, they have a green roof. Durham, Clay actually went and visited this library. It's a very interesting space.
And we
So-
hope to visit more.
In my humble opinion, this hits all the bases, satisfies the mandate of the city, answers many questions, raises questions, which is what a master plan is supposed to do, and it's aspirational. If you look at page 85, this was a committee meeting where we talked about, well, what if we move the entrance to this area? What if we move the entrance to this area? What if we chop the part of the building off? So 88 and 89 shows those discussions, and we weighed all of these. You'll notice like one of them took away the park. And the committee was very adamant about not taking away library park because it's about the only
We
green
like it.
space in that area. So, and then at the very end is all of the stuff that went through the urban design commission and the planning commission. So this basic plan has been approved by UDC and the planning commission. So the city has looked at it. They approved the plan. As we go forward, they did ask us to make sure we involve them, and we would love to involve them in the next steps as we focus this vision more, as we take this plan and develop it more.
So who will this go to
So
after we approve it?
I'm gonna let Foundation see it and the Friends see it. We're gonna distribute the paper
Yeah.
copies to them now because they need to see it. There are orders. I would like to, put it out for others to see it, and then when you approve it, then it's official. We have lots of questions. It's been a long time in coming. I mean, doing a master plan, I never want to do a master plan again during a pandemic. It was very challenging to get feedback and overcome hurdles of meeting. And just the timeline was difficult to hold. And
This was a major undertaking. All the time you guys put into it, deeply appreciate it. And I think it's gonna pay off, but this is huge. Yeah.
so take it home, chew on it. Call me if you have questions. Call Janet if you have questions.
Sure.
I thought this was the best way to look at it. I didn't want to, it feels different on paper than it
It
does
sure does.
online.
So there are 2 blank pages in here, and I don't want you to be alarmed.
I know.
86, 87, you can just put your notes on.
Those are for notes. Those are
Yeah,
for notes.
we do
Janet,
that.
thanks for bringing that up.
And Scott mentioned the committee meeting, page 88, 89, that is really us thinking out loud. And it looks a little strange, but it's, we said, no, move that other thing there, and then we all look at it. And so I'm kind of glad they included it, but if it looks wacky, it's because a group of people talking about different ideas.
And I really admire architects for being able to sit there and walk through a process like this. It's got to be like, oh my God, they already know in their head what's wrong with that plan, but they have to draw it and demonstrate it for us. And to do that, you do arrive at why. This took a lot of time though.
And it was by Zoom.
And it was by Zoom. It took a lot of time. I'm used to an architect having the plans in front of them with onion paper. And they just go. And
And you're
do
sitting
like that.
together.
And you're sitting together and you can kind of see where it's going. Was much more efficient than. Come back to us. Oh, it was.
It's over now, Scott.
It's over. I'm gonna need some more therapy to get this trauma. We have a problem, so.
So we need to review it all and vote on it next month. If you have issues with it when you read it, let's make a list of those. We can always keep that in our notes here. We can use that as we advocate and talk about changes and differences. Can't really change the document. So I really hope that next month we're going to say, document's good, here's some things we want to keep in mind.
Yes.
Or the document's great, we don't have to keep anything out of mind, but we do need to approve this. So, okay? That's excellent. Emily out today. I don't think we have anything on government, do we? No. Okay. Scott, I'm going to throw the mobile device program, but we need to talk about it and then have a vote on that policy. So you have section 6.3 of our public services, the mobile device lending program. It's it's a policy that we had in the past that was for Nook, Kindles, and things like that. We've just updated it a little bit to include the computers that we're going to be able to distribute, their laptops that patrons will be able to check out and use. We've established it's really an update of that policy. There's no real big major changes. We put the cost of the laptop in there, the charger, the processing fee. I don't know if we have do you have an example of one, Nandita? So Nandita is our IT administrator. Nandita Agra, maybe so she's brought a version of it that will be, that patrons can check out. And it has a big sticker on it that says, because it has security software on it, please don't save anything to it because it won't save. So it lets people know you need to use external storage device. It's a very simple laptop. So if somebody needs to process a document or get on the web, they can do that quickly with that device. It does not have a wireless access point with it. So they have to have either internet access at their home or access to internet access. We were thinking about creating a bookmark to go in it that shows where you can get free access in the community. Of course, all of the libraries, community centers, many of those have access. Just helping people if they do need to get on the internet to have that.
You said it does not have wireless.
No, it doesn't have wireless.
They have to plug it in.
No, it has a wireless access card in it, so it can get on the internet. It just doesn't have a wireless access point to give it internet.
So you need your.
You need a
hotspot,
hotspot, yeah.
Your router from whatever you're connected with, walk into it.
It's a Lenovo.
Whatever, and use it. It doesn't come with the way.
You have a printer? Yeah, you can connect it to your printer if you have a printer at home.
So they're able to download applications.
Yeah, you can download it, use it, but you might have to save it on a flash drive. Because every time the laptop shuts down, it's gonna wipe all information that's on there. So that way we don't want people to leave their personal information there and somebody else misuse it. We don't have Word on it, but we do have the LibreOffice suite in there. So it's comparable to Word and you can use it.
So they will be able to open Word documents.
Yeah,
PDFs,
yeah,
you know.
with everything in there. Like something that's similar to Excel, that's something similar to PowerPoint, but it's a different, it's a free suite of stuff.
But it can create it. It can open a docx document. It can create a docx document and you can save it in different formats. It's open source software that was available for us to install. Microsoft has moved all of their stuff to a subscription, which is a headache to administrate. And so we found this piece of software that's freeware that works. It's as robust. I think it's as robust. It's what I use on my own personal laptop. And it's free. So it can create any document you need or PowerPoint or any of those things. So we put that on there. It has a web browser on there and it'll do those basic things that you need to do. And it's not, we chose, a lot of libraries are going with Chromebooks. The problem with the Chromebook is you got to be in the Google universe. And not everybody wants to be in the Google universe. And the Chromebook is really a device that you're giving all of your information to Google. It's like they're giving you a computer, but they're farming you for data. We weren't crazy about that. And Nandita came up with this solution with these lightweight laptops. And we put the software on it that we have, and we built this model ourselves. We used the E-rate dollars to fund it. And we have 135 of them. And they'll be distributed to all of the branches and people can check them out or use them in the library. So that's how it came together.
Is there any instruction included with them on how to grab Sage or Cloud? You know, everybody doesn't have walk around with a flash drive or, you know, something, you know. So is there maybe an instruction sheet on a cloud to save work in, or, you know?
We haven't created that, but we can look into that.
Okay, here's some options. You could say, you could use a flash drive, you could email it to yourself, you could go to the cloud and such. That's probably a good.
Yeah. Well, and staff will be able to help them as they check them out. So they can also buy a flash drive at the library. So we have inexpensive flash drives that people can buy that can be on there.
I just didn't want the staff to be overwhelmed with teaching a class students.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
to do this if there was a document, you know,
Yeah.
So have you had these before for checkout?
No.
No, we didn't.
So this is a new service.
Yep.
So the second to the bottom point, if the device is damaged or lost at the time it is checked out, paper will be responsible for the cost of replacement. And then the cost of 350, 25, and 10.
Yep.
If you need to do that, but by the same token, some of the people who are doing this are doing it because they don't have $250 to have their own laptop. So, I mean, how are we going to deal with that? I mean, who's going to determine whether it died or whether they broke it? Obviously, if they don't return it, that's a different situation. But I'm just,
Well, that's a good question. It's just like, I had a patron call me the other day and said, they didn't pour water all over the book. The book came in and staff were charging them for it. And it's,
yeah,
these things happen.
but we're moving up to a little more expensive than the average book. Is
Right.
the reason to come.
So all we can do is work on it on a case by case basis. So if someone comes in and they return it and it's broken, they're gonna say, we're gonna do the best we can. So if we identify that it's broken before it goes out, we're gonna pull it out of service. If it comes back to us broken, we're gonna see the best we can to fix it. We're not gonna be, I don't want staff to be overly confrontational on it. There are things that happen to these computers and they're gonna break. That's just the way it's gonna be. We're trying
This
to.
is a new program. We're gonna find out.
Right.
I mean, we need to look at this as an experiment.
Yeah.
And that means we collect data, but we don't have hard, fast rules until we understand where we're going.
That was sort of where I was going to. Obviously, if they don't return it, that's clear.
Right.
And probably the charges are the biggest thing we deal with that. The charges don't come back.
Charges don't come back.
But that's a reasonable one. If it doesn't come back, no, like I said, if it's not working when it comes back, that's a tough one to say, did you do something you shouldn't have, did you drop it? There's something you can maybe tell, but we want to encourage people to use it.
Yeah.
So we don't want to be punitive. I'm just concerned with saying those things.
And that is a legitimate concern, and we really try to give people the benefit of the doubt. Often people come in, if they've spilled water on a book and damaged the book, they're gonna come and say, I damaged this, and they need to pay for it, and they just pay for it. Are people gonna come in and say, it just wasn't me? I swear on a stack of Bibles, it wasn't me. We don't get in fights with people over that. We do something called, it's like it's a path. It's like a claims return or a claims the damage was not responsible for them. And we put that on their record. And if this becomes a consistent problem, like I get 20 claims, I get 5 claims returned in a year or 5 claims, I didn't damage it. They have more of a discussion and talk about privileges. But that doesn't happen very often.
Yeah.
Most of our loss, people are write-off losses, and it's sad because they just bring this stuff back. People clear their record in the library.
Is there tracking?
No, we did not install tracking because it was very expensive and we didn't think it was. worth it.
Are they distributed in a bag or something?
Yes, they're gonna come in this small tiny bag, which is not waterproof, but water resistant. And it's got a little padding in it, so it's got a little cushion in case they drop it.
And we're giving them a mouse. Because some
And there's a
people
mouth in it.
don't have track pads, so we'll work on that. But it's nice that you can put 10 of them on about one shelf, so it doesn't take up a lot of space in the library. And just charging them may be the issue when they come back, but we'll figure out that. Again, we're going to be learning as we go. It's been a real challenge to just come up with the model and not take what a lot of libraries are doing with the Google Verse and the Chromebook and develop our own model. We had a heck of a time even getting computers because at the time computers weren't available, right? So there was all that supply stuff. So it's taken us just a long time to get the computers, build the computers and put them out. So.
Is there a thought to use these in programs too, whether you do coding classes or whatever, or is it just for checkout?
These
No
are
wrong
just-
answer
primarily
with
for
this.
checkout.
Yeah, these are just for checkout.
Okay.
We've had some computers like that, some mobile labs in the past.
Yeah.
Not a huge demand for that, which is surprising to me, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't try to do it again.
It was just a question.
No, it's a
not
good question.
suggestion. Yeah.
It's something that comes up all the time, and I think, again, we need to have more people in place to do those programs. I would love to do mobile programs or show up at Hull Street here and set up this room and bring in a 3D printer and do a demonstration. Those are things that love to do it. We don't have the people. So that's why we need to get to 89.5 people. All branches will get them. Yep.
Yeah, gonna be 15 at each branch.
How is this gonna be advertised? Is this gonna be sitting there or?
We'll do promotional stuff, probably do some signage, put it on the website, share it on Nextdoor, all of our different promotional channels, and really try and push it for the next 3 months, year.
Okay.
Well, I think we're both here to say that we can build that into our advocacy. We
Oh,
reach out,
yeah.
Really,
tell them it's-
Wonderful,
Yeah.
Yeah,
We talked about pictures, getting some photos with handing out to some of the first people using.
yeah, that's a great idea.
And this is the first for us. The closest we've come to this in the past was a small grant that came through the city a number of years ago that supplied Chromebooks for teen use in our library, but they didn't take them, they couldn't take them out at the time. But yeah, this is, yeah, we've never, had this number available, so it's a big deal.
I think that's excellent.
I have 2 questions. Why do I have to bring it back to renew? Because we wanted to see the laptop and not just get it renewed, so that way we know they still have it. So that was a reason, that was something that the managers thought was more essential.
We're gonna see how much they like doing that.
Are you going to?
I had the same thoughts as you.
Are you going to leave the word Chromebook? Because there are still a few Chromebook floating around in the system. So we wanted a policy that covers pretty much everything and not have a separate policy for each one. Which gets to be
you're checking those out.
inside the building. I think Hull Street has a few, and I think some of the branches still have a few that are still working. But I wanted to leave it in to cover the policy.
And if we get people that say, I don't like this Dell laptop, can I get a Chromebook? Maybe they like a Chromebook. And if we could get some Chromebooks, I'm happy to give people Chromebooks. You like a Chromebook? Have at it, because I use the Google Cloud stuff as well. So if we want to put some of those into the stable, let's do that too.
Any more questions about the program and policy? And Janet, I think if they find that we need to move it from in-person renewals to something else, we can address that later. Because I think you're probably right. Maybe first renewal could be online, the second one is.
I want the managers to be happy.
Right.
Yeah.
But at some point, you do need to make sure that it's either back or that it's still in existence.
Right.
As opposed to just being checked. Let's go ahead and if I can ask for a motion to approve the borrowing agreement as
I move that we do.
thank you, Chris.
I'll second that.
Garrett, and all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Okay, okay, now we move- okay, so we need to move to the meeting schedule and take a look at that for approval. That is on page 21 of the report, the packet. Scan through that and see if they have any issues that strike them on personal conflicts as much as whether they're involved in the schedule.
I just have an easy question for Jonna. So I have a calendar announcement that shows January 25th at Maine. Do I just decline that, or will you switch it to East End?
Oh, I'll change.
So that's to you, not to me. Okay, gotcha. Gotcha.
You notice we put a lot more branch ones. At one point, I think we were alternating. Now looks like we put in January, February, March out before May.
Right.
And then May, June, July out before we're back at May. So it's one of every 4, which I think gives us a chance to actually be at the branches, see what's going on.
Well, I think it's a great idea to go to branches. Well, branches should know who their trustees are too. That's an excellent idea.
We good?
Mhm.
Okay, if I can ask for a If we can ask for a motion to approve the meeting schedule that we're looking at on page 21 there. Need a motion and a second.
I moved to approve the meeting schedule.
And I second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay, that passes. Now we move on to page 22. Just the next page in the packet there. That is the holiday library closing schedule. We also have to approve, and we don't have a whole heck of a lot of control over this in a lot of ways. The city does that they've done in the past as we get toward holidays and things. But this is what we're looking at for the proposed and the planned holiday schedule at this point in time. So scan through that. Any discussion? You don't have any thoughts on this one?
So this Friday, December 5th, is closed. Is that what that means? It doesn't say closed.
Yeah, it's this is the closing day. And all of these are closed days for the rest of the year, basically. Unless it says something partial, really.
No
Um,
partials.
The issue there, the reason you're seeing the 2022 ones on here, I believe, is because of changes from the mayor's office versus this is changed from last year. Okay, from what we approved last year to this year. So the issue that we always face with this is because the city is closed on the 23rd in observance of Christmas Eve. And then we're also closed on Christmas Eve because we're normally open on Saturdays. And then obviously we're closed on Sunday, but they're also closed on Monday, city offices. So we are basically saying that we're closed from 5 o'clock on the 22nd until the morning of the 27th. So we have 5 days there.
Well, we're open on Thursday.
Right, well,
So it's
right,
4
it's
days.
well, it's Saturday, Sunday, Monday, yeah, we're open Tuesday, so right, so we're closed for 4 days in a row. And we closed a little bit early on Thursday for the advances that have people. It's just the way we have to put a duck to it. For us to do anything differently than that creates some HR issues, some funding issues that we have to, and it creates personnel ground issues, I think, frankly. So,
It does cause all those issues.
Yeah. and I would say that from having gone through this now for 6 or 7, whatever years, we keep seeing this and we go through this discussion every year that those particular days are not heavy library use days.
That has been my experience and I've studied this. Now, I think it's something that needs to be revisited and studied. I fully support of our goal of trying to make the library more accessible. And I wholeheartedly agree that the library needs to be open when everything else is closed. And if we could work more on a retail schedule, I think that should be what, I believe that's what we're doing. Staff do not, many people don't like it when I say that, but I believe we should be responsive to our users and really plan to do that. And if, when we get to capacity in terms of staffing, we should definitely do that. And I'm definitely inclined to considering open libraries at different times.
Right.
I was looking at our neighbors up north, Fairfax, and they have a library that's open 7 days a week. And they're open on Saturdays and Sundays, but they open at 10 a.m. in the morning on Saturday and Sunday, and they're open until 6 o'clock those days. And then on Monday and Tuesday, they're open from 1 to 9. Mondays and Tuesdays are busy days, and they're usually busy in the afternoon. So I really believe this needs to be kind of studied more thoroughly. And if the city is taking these holidays, we figure out a way to work within these holidays and around these holidays to better meet the needs of our users. Now, that is out there because there are no other city agencies, Parks and Rec, any other city department that's studying this. And if you look at this, it's very reflective of a majority of the city workers. They're 5 day a week in the mornings. The only ones who aren't 5 day a week, fire, police, emergency services. We're not those. And no one likes to hear me say that because it's being more retail and they want to have how many days is this? Did anybody count them up? It's almost 20 days. That's a lot of days. If I was running a business, I wouldn't be in business.
Okay, do library employees have the same contract as city employee, you know?
So now we're opening up a can of worms that's gonna be completely different down the road. And so I'm saying all of this now. I don't know that any of this will be in our hands in the near to far future. So, I'm just giving you my input on how I've wrestled with this issue over the decades that I've been in library service.
But I like the orientation. We're here for the citizens of Richmond.
We are,
Correct.
because my thinking on that would be ideally, we would at least have them on, say, that Friday before. So you've got something open on South Side, Main, and something in one of the other branches on the north side of the river. And that we probably have enough employees who would be willing to staff those if they're properly compensated. Just this is a question of you can't do it at the last second, and they have to see it as an opportunity rather than a penalty. That as you say, you have to do it as opposed to, hey, we've got 3 branches open. If you want to get paid for working that Friday before Christmas, we're looking for 9 people to work.
Well, and you're right. And here's the other thing. When we hire folks, we explain in the interview process, our libraries are open on weeknights and weekends. That's what you're signing up for. And so it's really, you're signing up for a retail job. It's just, that's not how they get treated that's not how the city operates. The city doesn't operate on a retail schedule. We're trying to operate on that schedule. And so it creates resentment and animosity in the ranks.
But I would like us to be aligned with, we are not Henrico. But at Thanksgiving, they were open 2 of the days we were closed.
Yep.
I'm tired of my friends saying, I never go to Richmond Library. They're never open. I don't want to go to Enrico. I don't want to hear it anymore.
Yeah.
Well, and there are some ways to do it. I don't know whether HR will allow us to, but as an example, if we say we want to have a grant, on South Side open and have Westerville Health open, to say on Friday before that. Can we open it for 6 hours and pay for a day? Are there things that
I would
can
say
be-
the board has the authority to do that. Now, Laura can contradict me, but the board has the authority to do that.
The city employees are city employees and not the board's employees. So maybe the board can say we can stay open, but how it's staffed is different, but
Okay.
I think it's something that can be talked with the administration and HR to see about doing a different schedule for library workers and how to pay them and having a volunteer type system. I think it's.
Well, what do police and fire do? They have to work the holidays and they're city workers.
Right,
So I would think it would be,
right, so work with the administration.
Okay.
And 2 things to keep in this COVID did impact initially, especially that first year, how the holidays were viewed and the changes that the administration made. But, the next administration may have an entirely different perspective on this. So, we can see a drastic change in a couple of years.
Yeah.
and collective bargaining could change all of this as well.
Okay, so we've got a fundamental.
Columbus Day, are we still calling it Columbus Day?
No, the city doesn't close on Columbus Day. We close on that day for staff development.
I think the issue there is they have to bring up with what we're calling it, not so much today.
Yeah.
Change the name spot as well.
I'm happy to change the name. I don't know if
What we
it hasn't been
change it to.
changed, hasn't been changed on the federal level.
It's a policy.
Okay.
Because I don't know that we need to get into Indigenous Peoples' Day, Columbus, let's just.
Staff.
Staff development.
Just call it a thing.
Okay.
It can even be the fall day. Something.
Fall day.
Other questions, other thoughts on the calendar? Okay, I'm gonna once again ask for a motion to approve it as As published here with the exception of changing the name of one of them.
We'll make that correction.
Which I don't think we need to modify in here. So, motions to do so?
I move to
Thank you.
accept it with the correction.
Okay, and a motion, a second to that motion? Okay, all in favor, aye? Any opposed? Okay, okay. Good there. Okay. I'm gonna ask whether there's any other new business or anything anyone would like to bring up before we move forward in adjournment. No? Okay, well, I appreciate, we're moving things along so quickly. We had a lot of important things with advocacy and facilities, both very productive. Chris, you didn't get a block in it because you didn't ask to speak about early childhood, but I just wanted to say that we know you are moving along at a rapid rate there. And we're not trying to neglect that. You just don't need to repeat everything to us every time. So we appreciate what's going on with that. Okay, I have a motion to adjourn.
I'll move to
Thank you,
adjourn.
Chris. And a second. Okay, all in favor, aye? We're adjourned. Thank you.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Yeah, we kind of got tired of those little paper things getting all dirty and stuff. So let's just keep it, make it nice. Yeah, isn't he cute? It's yours. You can be the envy of your floor. But buddy, what? I don't know. What would that be?
Be a smaller version.
Oh.
Or maybe even.
Everybody wants to take them all.
Lots of gifts for the holiday.
I know your person.
There was a lot of them.
I want to put five, well, not only there, but.
Yeah.
Let's get a quick thing, and I'll do that quickly.